Hello and welcome to A Cup of Tea with Dr. Z, where we share everyday stories with you, everyday women. Are you ready to hear heart-to-heart key issues that we all face, no matter where we are in the world? So grab your cup of tea and let's welcome your host, author, international speaker, reinvention strategist, and woman that's full of faith in God and mankind, Dr. Zena Arinze.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 everyone. Hello and welcome. Me again, your host, the amazing, the phenomenal Dr. Zena Arinze. And I know I'm streaming somewhere live in your house, in your country, wherever you are around the world. Please, 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 you know what you need to do. Put in the comments where you're streaming from, where you're watching from, where you're listening from. If you're driving, please have your hands on the steering wheel and have your earpiece in. If you're walking, if you're on a train, if you're putting the children to bed, I'll try my best not to shout. I'm shouting, I know. But anyway, you're welcome, 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 welcome to another episode of A Cup of Tea with me, Dr. Z. This is actually episode 32, and I am so chuffed about this. Really, really chuffed. And if you're just new on the show, and I can see some of you are putting stuff in the chat, I'll read that in a minute. If you're new on the show, if you're new, we've been doing this for almost a year. We started on the 8th of December. So very soon I'll be celebrating a birthday. We start on the 8th of December, and really this is about sharing amazing things that amazing women are doing around the world. And I always say that you're an everyday woman because you're here. And many people say, well, I'm not doing anything extraordinary. Yes, you are, for the fact that you're still alive. Maybe you're running a family. Maybe you don't have a family and you're running a business. Or maybe you're running a school. Or maybe you're looking after a loved one. Or maybe you're working and you're an amazing entrepreneur. Or maybe it doesn't matter what you are, for the fact that you are a woman, you are extraordinary. And I'm really, really passionate about being in the, having a platform to really spotlight everyday women doing extraordinary things. But not only that, to also ensure that you, wherever you are around the world, listening to this, or whether you listen to this on the replay on YouTube, or whether you see it on Spotify and Apple, wherever it is that you get to listen to this, even after I've gone, and I'm not going anytime soon. But whenever you listen to this, I want you to feel inspired, motivated, challenged, stretched. Today I went on a strategy day and we were talking about stretched way beyond anything that you can imagine that you can do. And also to open the door for so many other women to come through those doors as well, to be stretched as well. So this is why I do this. It's a passion project, and I am so grateful for the platform, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to speak to so many amazing, phenomenal, incredible women all over the world, on every single continent, to bring them so that they can speak to you, share their stories. Some stories are really, really sad, some are really motivated, some are really happy. It doesn't matter, but something to ensure that your voice is heard. Maybe sometimes your voice is heard, or your story is heard through my story or through someone else's story. Or maybe it will give you the push that you need to go forward, wherever that might be. I've heard stories of women that perhaps were thinking about doing something really quite sad, and listening to a show like this, listen to one particular episode. I think maybe episode 3 or 5. I can't remember the particular one, but the lady was talking about suicide and stuff like that, and addictions, and how she felt when, her husband had died after, because he was addicted to nicotine and stuff like this. And lots of people phoned up, and lots of people sent messages on YouTube. And those of you that have my personal WhatsApp number, sending me messages saying, oh my days, thank you so much, Dr. Zena. This has really helped me. It's helped me not just turn my life around, but turn someone that I love around. So this is why we do this. We never know who it's going to touch and what the story will be. But today I have another phenomenal, incredible guest. And I'm so grateful and honored that she's on my platform tonight. We call her the Solid Woman. and she really is solid in every sphere of the word. She's really solid, and I'm going to read a little bit about her. By now, I should be having bios off by heart. I think maybe next year that'll be something I'll learn, how to, have everyone's bios. But some people have short bios, and some people have really, really long bios. But anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my amazing guest today. I am so looking forward to this. Now, her name, I'm not going to tell you her name yet, but she's known as Wise Tola. Oh my days. I've let the cat out the bag. Oh my days. She's a wife. She's a mother of 5 children. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you see her, you'll be surprised. She's also a grandmother. I call her Yummy Grammy. She's a grandmother. She's a visibility coach, and she's an author of the book called Steps. She's also a former radio personality. So I'm going to ask her after the show how I did. And she's also the co-founder of Women for Africa, which has been dubbed the largest gathering of African women in Europe. If you're in Europe anywhere and you haven't attended, it's normally every May. Make sure you get tickets and you go there. Last year, I think, was their 10th year anniversary, if I can remember from memory. Now, Women for Africa is a platform created to celebrate the best of African women and women passionate about Africa. Tola is also the founder of The Solid Woman, which is all about empowering, inspiring, and encouraging women. She's also the founder of the Listeners 101, which is a platform and an app for young people. As a visibility coach, Tola uses her knowledge, and I've let her name out again, so you know who I'm going to be talking to. As a visibility coach, she uses her knowledge and experience to coach individuals, especially women, to show up and be seen. Tola really believes that visibility is the key to so many opportunities, 100%, and that people cannot see what you are not showing them. Absolutely. And her motto, show up, be seen, be heard, and let them know you exist, is her motto. I'm going to ask her to trademark that, actually, because I might steal it myself. Now, without further ado, I'm going to bring this amazing drum roll, wherever you are around the world. Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. Going to bring the amazing, phenomenal Tola Onigbanjo into the house. Hello, 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 Tola. Hello, hello, hello. Yummy Grammy.
Hi, Dr. Zee. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you.
Happy to be here.
Good. You know, when I read your bio, and obviously, I know about you, but when I read your bio, I'm always amazed at all the different things that you do and how you do them so impeccably and so excellently. I know one of the things that really inspires me about you is your attention to detail, and your attention to timing. Everything has a time. And then also, obviously, visibility. I know you will laugh about that. And also in terms of visibility. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. But I just want to say thank you again for agreeing to be here. This is amazing. I'm so glad to have you here on the show. And I just want to say, hello, Adekumbi. Wow. Hello, Tola from I just saw you, Tola. You got on the show. Oh, that's lovely. Hello, Duchess. Hello, Duchess. Hello, Bala. Hello. Lovely to see you from Essex, from Potter's Bar. Wow. Thank you. Remember, hello, Valerie from Brixton. Okay, this is really great. Well done, everyone. Right. If you're just tuning in, always say where you're from and I'll shout out. It's lovely to have you all. Now, I'm going to ask you a few questions, Tola. I don't even know where to start, but I'm going to ask you a few questions. Now, we talk about, you wearing many, many hats. And I want to ask you, which of the hats, do you like the most? Because obviously you wear a hat as a grandmother, as a mom, as an author, as a visibility coach, as the co-founder of Women for Africa, and so many other things that I know are not on this bio. So which hat do you prefer?
To be honest, I love wearing all of them. I cannot say I prefer one over the other. I love wearing all of them. All of them.
Love wearing all of them. I like that. I like that. I like that. Um, what would you say was your, or is there a defining moment for you in terms of your passion for visibility and empowerment? Because I know last year, I don't know if you did it this year. I'm not on Facebook, so I might not know. But I know you typically do visibility challenges quite regularly. You know, people come into your network and you give them tasks and things that they need to do to show up.
Mm.
So I want to ask you, what was that defining moment that really drove or ignited your passion for visibility and empowerment?
I think for me, it was when I was called to appear on Sky Sunrise with Eamon Holmes. I think that was it for me.
Eamon Holmes. Oh, hello, Flair for Fabric Sewing. Hello, Covelyn, designer, entrepreneur, mediator, mom. I love this. I love this. I love this. We've got lots of lovely people tuning in. Fantastic. So you appeared with Abe. So what was it about that experience?
I think for me it was totally unexpected, and I think that's what really, I think that's at the forefront of when I talk about visibility and showing up and letting them know that you exist. You know, because I remember I was actually at a cinema watching a movie, and I got a call. The number, it wasn't a number that was saved in my phone, so I obviously didn't know who it was from. But you know, I just quietly picked it up because you know you're in the cinema, and you know, like they were just saying, "Oh, is that Tola Onigbanjo? Yeah, would like to invite you to come on Sky Sunrise with Eamon Holmes." And I was like, "Oh, I'm at the cinema at the moment. Can you call me in an hour?" And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my God, I haven't done that before. Me, I must go on Sky." And I was thinking, oh, well, anyway, I've told them to call me back in an hour. Hopefully they don't call. And then, you know, like, I don't have to do it. But then I got the call when I was driving home. They did call back, and they wanted me to appear the next day, you know, to talk about parenting and the summer holidays. And I believe that was because they'd seen my book Steps. I had a website for Steps. The book was out. And, you know, I know that sometimes when people are looking for people to interview, whether it's for TV, magazines and things like that, sometimes they might just do a search, Google search. So I always teach in visibility that you have to have a digital footprint, you know, so that when they do, because they'll send researchers to go and look and see who they can find to cover this topic, you know, and that. So I just said, yeah, okay. So they said they'll send a car to pick me up in the morning. You know, it won't be more than 5 minutes, and then the car will take me back home and everything like that. They'll do makeup there if I need, you know, anything, and yeah, and that was it. I went and I appeared on Sky Sunrise talking about parenting with Eamon Holmes. You know, very nice guy, I must say. You know, like we talked before going on, so they get you comfortable. I believe that was just to get you comfortable. So when you're on, it's like, you know, you're just a part of the set, and then that was it. So yeah, that for me was a very defining moment when it comes to visibility.
I like that. And this wasn't something I planned, but what I do like about what you've said, and if you're listening, wherever you're listening around the world, or if you listen to this on the replay, this is about taking advantage of the opportunities that come your way. You know, Tola's given a lovely story. She was watching, you know, she was in the cinema and said, "Oh, can you call me back in an hour?" How many times do we do this where an opportunity comes your way, and because you feel you're not ready for it, you say, "Can you call me back?" Now, in this particular story, thank God they did call back, and the rest is history. And so many of you have benefited from her visibility programs. But many of us have the tendency of, when an opportunity comes our way, we think we're not ready. We don't look the part. We're not the size, we're not the color, we're not the gender, whatever it is, we don't have the money, whatever it is that we think that cancels us out. And we miss out on opportunities. And if you're not seen, no one knows what you have, whether you're selling patties, making meat pies, selling rice, designer clothes, handbags, whatever it is that you do, digital marketing. If people don't know about you, they can't buy from you. Or if it's not even about selling. Well, it is about selling, because you sell everything. Even if it's not for money, you sell your personality. But if people don't know you, they can't do anything with you, or they can't refer you. This is fantastic message. I was just, as you were saying, I'm thinking, yeah, sometimes I'm not ready now. I remember, a friend of mine years ago, and I told this story, I think two episodes back. She was ill. Now I'm a woman of God, and she was ill, and she called me. This was maybe about 8-9 years ago. Called me, said, "Oh, I'm really, really sick," and I just need to call you. And encourage her. I'm likable and all that. But I think she was looking at me to come and pray for her. So please, I'm in hospital. Can you come? I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll come right now. Let me just go home. I'm driving home. Let me drive home and get my Bible. Now, that shows that I was not ready. And so opportunities come our way. We must always be ready. I mean, I did get there. I did get my Bible and we prayed and all that. And she teases me till today about it. Like, you've had to go home to get your Bible when you could have just come. And so I like to give this kind of example so that people know that we are real people. We're not telling you do this because we're perfect. We're telling you do this because we have done it and we can see what has come out of it, or we haven't done it and can also see what could be a potential, negative consequence. So I love that. Now, coming back to you, because this is really about you, really, really about you. Now, I'm going to talk about Listeners 101 because I remember when you started that, and it breaks my heart that we have to do things like this, but it's needed. So I want to ask you first, Tola, what was your inspiration behind that? And tell our listeners a little bit about what Listeners 101 is all about.
Okay, so I remember there was a particular year that, there was just like, like every day it was like, a certain number of stabbings, 3 people have been stabbed here, 3 young people have been stabbed there, and a lot of videos that were going around of stabbings that were taking place and things like that. And I just thought to myself, this is a lot. And I thought to myself as well, it's even probably pressure on the young people involved, the young people that are either losing a young person to such a crime, or, like the young people that are friends with people that have committed such a crime. It's a lot of pressure. And, it was during a time where, a lot of young people as well, just not having anyone to talk to. It was always a complaint. And even with, like our children, sometimes they'll be like, oh, I don't have anyone to talk to. My parents don't understand me and that kind of thing. So I decided, me and a couple of friends decided to just come up with, like a helpline. So I decided to use one of my phones because I have a number of mobile phones. A lot of it is for social media. So I had one that obviously I don't use for calls, and I decided to donate that one to the Listeners 101. So we created a phone where it was a phone line, helpline, where a young person can call to speak to somebody. And I knew that obviously if I use one of my phones, because I obviously pay my line rental, so it's not something that's funded and then there's no funding and then you have to stop. Yes. So I needed something that was going to be something that could just carry on. So I used my phone, and then we set up Listeners 101. So we did the website, the listeners101.org. And we just decided that young people would be able to call us, and they could also reach out to us on our social media. But we found that young people were actually messaging on social media, most specifically Instagram. They preferred to message rather than come on the phone and talk, which was fine. So we would message them back from there. But then I now decided that if that's what they like to use, and when you look at young people, they always have their phones in their hands a lot of the time, sending messages and that kind of thing. So I reached out to one of my cousin's husband, her husband and his partner, they build apps. So I explained to them what I wanted, the Listeners 101 app that young people can download. We don't get their phone number, so it's absolutely anonymous. They download it and they can use any username they want, because for us, it's not so much about knowing them that we have to get to know them. It's more about them having somebody that they can talk to. Yeah. So they can use any username. We don't have access to their phone number, and they can just start talking to a listener. And then we on the other side can pick it up and start talking to them. Now the app's being updated. So I've had the app some updates because I just needed a few things changed on it that I hadn't thought of when I first done it. So now we're just waiting for the App Store to because it's now pending with the App Store. So waiting for the App Store to re-release it, and then we'll now start a bigger campaign around it for young people because it's necessary. And I just felt that young people could just come on there, especially young people that might have been affected by crime or an incident and feel that they don't have anyone to talk to. They can talk anonymously, so we don't know who they are. We don't have access to who they are, but they can reach out because, some of them might have a guilty conscience and not want to go to the police, not want to tell any of their friends or anything like that. And that's what it's created for. So we do have people that come on there that have, relationship issues, young people going through relationship issues, some feeling, suicidal and that kind of thing. But there's always somebody to talk to them. And, they can talk at any time because it's an app. They can talk at any given time. So anyone that's available from the listeners team will just take up the conversation and continue the conversation with that young people. And that's kind of like how the app works.
I love this because just listening, I mean, obviously, this is still about visibility in terms of, giving young people a voice, giving them, a platform to actually be visible, but be invisible. Because obviously, or be visible on their own terms. So I want to talk. I want to be listened to. And I like how you were quite intentional about seeing what works for them and what didn't work for them. Typically, lots of young people say that, oh, the older ones, we don't listen. We don't listen. But if you happen to be, the CEO of listeners, one of the things you've just demonstrated is that you listened. You saw that, okay, no one's going to get on the phone. It's bad. It's hard enough getting our children on the phone. They'll only call you if they need. Oh, mom, can you pick me up, or can I borrow your car? Or can you? Yeah, but other than that, they're going to be WhatsApping you or sending you messages on Snap or whatever. So how much more, other people who are not related to you. So it was really quite interesting and, very, very laudable for you to have been able to listen and then pivot and, develop something that is more akin to what they would want and what they would use. And I like the fact that you really spelt it out, that it's actually anonymous.
Yeah.
So you don't get anyone's phone number, no auntie, no sister, no pastor, no imam. No one's going to know who you are. So, because I know also young people have the, we don't, what's that thing? We don't grass. Yeah, that's it. We don't grass up people. We don't, so if they, like you rightly said, if they've got something that's really, really heavy on their heart, maybe they have witnessed a stabbing, or maybe they were even part of the gang or something, and they're feeling really bad about it.
Yeah.
And maybe they've gotten away with it, but they want to turn a leaf, but they want to get this off. If they speak to someone, if you speak to someone, you say, don't tell anyone, but they might tell one person, and that one person tells one person, well, that person tells one person, then it gets, and they get done. But this way, they're able to offload. It's a bit like being in the Catholic Church. You're able to offload what's on your chest and feel lighter, and hopefully, get some relief, maybe change your way, or whatever it is, but at least you feel better. Because it's non-judgmental. It's not, and it's not always going to be about crime. It could be, like you said, relationship issues. It could be you have issues with your parents. It could be that you're a young parent yourself and you don't know how to cut. I can imagine there must be a whole rafter of issues that people phone in or use the app for. Saying, I was already saying phone in. You can tell my age. Phone in. So I love that. That is really, 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 and I can see how passionate you are about that.
Thank
you. I want to ask you, coming back to this visibility, because, how does it, as a visibility coach, how does it differ for when you're working with adults as opposed to when you're working with young people?
Well, with the young people, obviously, it's mainly through the app and things like that. And then, like some of the young people that I mentor, those ones obviously is directly to them, whether it's through their phone or anything like that. With adults, when it comes to visibility, well, the way I do my visibility, I do it in a way that everyone can be interactive. Everyone has to be interactive and everyone has to show up, because that's my thing. Show up and be seen. My hashtag is let them know you exist. They can't see what you're not showing them. kind of thing. So I make sure that, like they're active. And I find that they really do participate, they really do participate. They're very active with it, which is good because, it's one of those things where I set tasks and then they have to complete the task. Right. And then I have a register as well. So if I give you 5 tasks for the day, by the end of the day, I would let them know that the register's closing either at 9 p.m. today or 10 p.m. So everyone tries to make sure they get their task done by then, because when I do it, I round up the end of the day and then I say, well done for showing up today. And then I'll do a list of those that completed all the tasks. And so everyone wants to make the list that they've completed the task. So everyone really puts in an effort to make sure that they do show up. And then I have the ones that are really driven, that want to show up every single day. So they want to try and complete all the tasks every day for the 30 days and that. But it's helpful. It's helpful. It gets them active. And I make sure that they use, because I do it on Instagram. So I make sure they use all the avenues on Instagram. They have to post on Reels. They have to post on their story. They have to post on their page. They have to do a live, even if it's once a week or something, they have to go live, to talk. So I've had people that haven't been live before. Now they start going live. I had a guy that joined and he wanted to join. So he reached out and I said, I do it on Instagram. And he said he didn't have an Instagram page. So I said, well, you have to set up an Instagram page. He set up the Instagram page. He joined, he then had 2 Instagram pages. So he was always joining the classes. Every month I was doing it, he was always joining, showing up. He was doing lives and everything. So he was really making good use. He was even bringing people to come and join as well. So that was really good. And, that was really impressive. So now he's just doing his thing. I see him show up on my timeline, doing his thing. And yeah, I'm happy about that.
I love that. And if you're listening, whether you're listening right now or you're listening on the replay, it doesn't matter whether you've done it before or whether it's new. It's really about trying something new. So this guy is a very good example of, I want to do this. So he saw you. So you were showing up, doing your stuff by yourself, working with, your community, and he saw you and he reached out. You gave him the parameters. He didn't have what it took. So whatever. So sometimes, what qualifies you, he didn't have it, but he was not deterred. He said, okay, is this what's required? Okay, he set it up. And like you rightly said, now he's off on his merry way, doing stuff that he probably wouldn't have thought he would have been doing maybe 5 years ago. And this is the beauty of, number 1, showing up, but number 2, stretching yourself, going way beyond anything that you can imagine. It's also about learning to do new things. It's about stepping out of your comfort zone and learning to do new things. And it's also about being humble, stretching out. As Tola was speaking, I was thinking, I've known Tola for years. I've not done that visibility challenge. So I need to come on that visibility challenge, because it will give me consistency. So, and the reason why I say things like this is because you might be listening. It doesn't matter how qualified you may be or how unqualified you may think that you are. There's always something to learn. There's always an opportunity to learn something new. And while you're trying to learn something new, you stumble on something else you completely didn't even expect. And I'm going to say this now, and Tola's going to laugh. Now, Tola and I could not sew. Now, Tola can sew and design and wear her own clothes. And I didn't even talk about that. And why am I saying this? Is if you really want to do something, you will put every effort to it. And tell our viewers a little bit about this sewing journey. And I don't know why I remember that, because we
Well, I've always actually wanted to sew from a young age. I remember I used to actually hand sew. I didn't have a sewing machine growing up, and I grew up with my dad. He wasn't going to get us a sewing machine, just like that. So I used to hand sew stuff. If I wanted to sew anything, I, really hand sew stitch until I'd actually finish sewing something. So it was always something that I wanted to do, but just finding the time was going to be an issue. And that, but I'd always told myself I wanted to. And then a friend of mine, Abby, that runs Flair for Fabrics, she does one-on-one sewing. And I used to say to myself, oh, I'm going to definitely do the one-to-one sewing with Abby. But I needed to find the time. So it was the time for me. But I remember after every Women for Africa that we do in May, we always have like a break. So I might have a break of, let's say, 2 months before we start planning for the next one. Could be 2-3 months before we start planning for the next one. So that year I decided, right, Women for Africa's out the way. I've got this break. Let me do the one-to-one. So, I messaged Abby and I said, yes, I want to do the one-to-one classes and that kind of thing. So, yeah, she was like, okay. So when I paid for the classes and she would come, I had the sewing machine ready. So she would come once a week and then show me. I'd have to let me get all the stuff, list of materials that I had to get, which I did get, and the patterns. And then she'll come once a week and show me how to sew simply. So she simplifies it. And then, I took it from there and I started sewing, and I started making a few clothes for myself. I started trying to make bodices. That was going to be my main thing. But I just wasn't grasping the hang of it, like in an easy way. And I like things simple and easy, so I have a shed full of fabric. I must say I was a fabric holic, if you can call it that. Always buying fabric and still not sewing, always buying fabric and still not sewing. But it was there, I'd sew every now and again, but not as much as I should compared to the fabric. So in the end, my husband bought me a shed to put the fabric in because it was taking up so much space in the house. So I have a shed in the garden full, and I say full of fabric. But the other day I was going out on a few occasions, and when you're going out, you just want to carry a little bag where you can just put your stuff in. But I noticed that the bags that I had for going out, they were the way they're designed, like once you fit in 2 or 3 things, you can't fit in anything else, even though there's space, but you just can't shove it in, because of the shape of stuff. And I just wanted a small bag that I could carry out when I'm going out and I'm dressed up, and it still looks cute and it carries everything. So I was looking online and I was seeing different styles of bags, different shapes of bags. So I looked at one that looked really simple, and I decided, right, let me cut out, my own pattern similar to this and make this bag. So I made the bag, and it's small, it's cute, and it just fits in so much. I can put my 3 phones in there. I can put my makeup bag. I can put my tissue. I can put my fan, and it carries everything. And I thought, this is it. And so I decided that was going to be what I was going to do, use my sewing to do, make these bags, Plus, when I went to Nigeria the last time, there's some girls there that I know, and that's kind of like what they do. They make these small bags, different shapes, different sizes. So I looked at what they did as well. And then I came back and I started to make the bags, and I call it the Montan bag. So that's the name I gave it, the Montan bag. And so I make it out of different fabrics. It's just one style, one shape, but just different fabrics, and that's it. So that's the business. Montan bags, yeah. Every woman needs a Montan bag.
I'm getting one. I'm getting one for Christmas. You see what I like about this, and the reason why I have to say this is, I remember years ago when Tola and I were talking about, this, we want to know how to sew. We want to know, and, Abby is absolutely phenomenal. So she's listening. She's probably going to laugh at me because we've had this conversation. She's tired of me. We've had this conversation so many times, at least once or twice a year. Yeah, I'm going to start. So I guess I've said it live here, 2025. In addition to all the other things that I do and all the other hats I'm going to wear, I'm going to do this sewing with Abby, because I can't imagine that Tola is sewing and making bags and making bodices, and I can I put safety pins in my clothes when there's a hole. So, but no, absolutely phenomenal, Montan bags. I need to get one for myself. Actually, I'm a January baby, so I'm going to buy one for myself. I love that. I want to, you talked about Nigeria, and I just want to go into Africa now. Let's go into Africa now. In addition to all the amazing things that you do, being a lovely, a solid woman, a grandma, a mom, a wife, you're also the co-founder of Women for Africa. And I have to say, 10 years, am I correct? This year
This year was 10 years.
10 years. Next year is going to be 11 years of going strong. And I want to, when you say co-founder, what does that mean?
It's me and my husband.
Right. No, I know that, but our listeners don't know. Right. And tell us a little bit about what it is, and what birthed the vision, and so that our listeners understand a little bit more about the concept. So a bit like the concept document, but in spoken form.
Okay, so Women for Africa is a platform where we celebrate, it's an award ceremony where we celebrate ordinary women doing extraordinary things. So what we do every year is we hold an annual awards that takes place in May, and we have categories and people nominate, the public nominate. So we don't do any nominations as the founders or our team. The public nominate, and then we have an independent panel that selects the finalists, and then we have judges that will select the winners. And so everything is done independent of us. We don't nominate, and we're not part of the selection or the judging process. And then, so all we do is on the day award the women. So nobody knows whether they've won or not until the actual day of the ceremony. So that's what we've been doing for the last 9 years. Year 10, we decided to do it differently because it was year 10. So we decided to award 10 phenomenal women. And then we had one international as well. And so that one, we as a team, we collectively looked at who people were suggesting, people were recommending people, and then we'd look through and see what they did, what they were doing, whether they fit the category, whether it's mother, outstanding mother, creative leadership, all of those kind of things, inspirational woman, woman of virtue, woman in law, that kind of thing. And then we awarded 10 phenomenal women with plus 2 surprises we had on the night, and also an international category. And that's what we do with the Women for Africa platform. We do the awards. So next year, we're looking to expand into other things. We're actually in the process of having the foundation registered as a charity. So we're going to be doing stuff across Africa as well with that. So you guys heard it first. I don't even know if all our team know that, but yes. But yeah, so we're in the process. That's being set up as a charity. So we have somebody doing that process for us. So we're going to be doing that. And then coming up next month, we haven't announced it, but yeah, I should have announced it. I should have shared it today, but I was busy sharing this podcast today. So I'll share it maybe on Monday. No, I'll start sharing it from tomorrow anyway, and that. But so we have an end of year networking and drinks that's for people to just come together, at the end of the year and just network with each other, have drinks, and we'll provide drinks and some canopies in a nice venue in Central, just to round up the year. It's just a 2-hour event, but yeah, for people like-minded people just come together and just meet each other and catch up.
If you're not in Central, we're talking about Central London. So if you're not in the UK, well, if you're not in London or in the environment, so you're not in Kent or Essex or Norwich, I think it's a little bit far, but if you're not anywhere kind of near us, it's going to be difficult, but we'll tell you about it. I'll make sure I'll take a picture of a drink or two, and all that. But yes, wherever you are, you can also do this in your community. Set up, some networking event. Just let your hair down, male, female, talk about your business or your lives, whatever it is. It's because Christmas is a time to be merry, and we all have our families, but we also have extended families, people that we do stuff with. And you never know, the person you meet with that drink or that plate of food or that canopy could be the next person that will make you even more visible than you are right now.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
what it's about. We always say that all this is about know, like, and trust in anything, whether you're selling your business, whether you're selling yourself, whether you want people to sign up for a course, or whether you want to tell people, whatever it is that you do, whatever it is, perhaps you look after children, whatever it is that you do, people need to know, like, and trust you. Yeah. Now, marketing is fantastic, but, bricks and mortar, referral, and it all starts in that network. Some of you say, oh, I don't like networking. It's yucky. Oh, I don't know anyone. You don't need to know anyone. I can assure you that half of the people there are also saying they don't know anyone. So, I don't know why I'm going off a tangent there, but networking is really, really great.
Yeah.
You talked about setting up a foundation. I really love this. I love this. And, really expanding into the continent, the African continent. What kind of plans do you have? I know you can't share everything now. I know that. But I'm just in terms of the thought, a little bit about the future vision. A little bit.
So we're not gonna go out and go and start something new in regards to the foundation, because when you look at a lot of the countries in Africa, there are already organizations there, NGOs that are set up doing stuff. So we will more come in on a collaborative, measure and collaborate with what they're doing and just try to add value and be supportive with what they're doing, and just to make it a bit bigger. So we'll look for different organizations that are doing stuff around women and their children, and then we'll partner with them to do stuff as well, just to bring visibility to what they're doing as well, and just to help with what they're doing.
I like that. Sorry, pardon my manners. I forgot I didn't offer you a cup of tea. I made some. All right, I made some Earl Grey. I hope you like and just.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Earl Grey is good. Earl Grey works for me. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Still hot.
Cheers, everybody.
Oh, honey. I've got a sweet tooth. Right. So thank you for that, Tola. So I know, what advice would you give, looking back or even looking forward, actually, for aspiring change makers? Because I know this is something that you're really big on, making sure that we are the change that we want to see. Yeah. So, what advice would you give?
I would say don't overthink things, because sometimes we tend to overthink things. Okay, how am I going to do this? Where am I going to get this from? And how am I going to, I would say whatever it is that you want to do, start with the first step. I always say, it takes many bricks to build a house, but it starts with one brick, laying one brick at a time. When you've laid the first brick, acknowledge that, give yourself a pat on the back, then do the next one. Eventually the house will be built, and that's it. Take it step by step. So sometimes you have a big vision and you know how you want it to look like, but then you think to yourself, but how am I going to get it like this? Where am I going to get the money, the resources, the people? But, start step by step. Sometimes it starts with sharing it with somebody, that person taking an interest and say, go for it. Okay, let's do this. How can I help you? And that kind of thing. And then you work on it like that till you get there. So don't overthink it, but start somewhere.
I like that. You've heard it from the solid woman herself. Don't overthink it. Start somewhere. And that somewhere could be anywhere. Where I will start might not be where you would start. Some people start at the end and move back. And some people start at the beginning, or you can start in the middle.
Yes.
But don't overthink it, because the energy that you're spending overthinking, you could have at least done one thing. Yes. It's about taking incremental steps rather than taking big steps. The song, one step forward, two steps backward, or, you don't want to do that. You want to 1 foot forward, you could have a little rest. Another foot forward, have a little rest. Maybe you might have a bit of a wobbly, but you stay solid, and then go again. Or you can regroup and ask for help, and also be the help that other people want. Because sometimes when you're helping other people come back to even help you when you least expect it, and people will offer help. So don't overthink. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm talking to myself here as well. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be that you're done. And for many of us from, the Caribbean, from Africa, we tend to, we've been brought up for things to be, if it's not right, don't do it. And then you kind of not do anything. So what we're saying is take incremental, and in fact, Tola said, I will say that as well, but Tola has said, take incremental steps, get it done little by little, and pat yourself on the back, even when, you haven't gone as far as you want to get. I like that. Step by step. Yeah, someone's put that, step by step. Oh, I like this. People see, it doesn't have to be absolutely. It doesn't have to be perfect. Absolutely. One step at a time. Thank you, guys. You guys are playing really strong. I can see you all the comments, and these are just the ones I'm seeing here. I don't know what's happening on YouTube or on LinkedIn or Instagram, but well done. Absolutely. Now I'm going to, still kind of unpack that a little bit, because I love what you said there. If there was one message, no, I'll leave that. No, I will leave that. Now, so you've talked about step by step, pat yourself on the back, don't overthink it. There are still women, and we know this already, there are still women who are doing lots of amazing things and really aspire to change, to be the change, to do something different in their communities, in their families, in their workplaces, wherever, but they still feel invisible. They feel invisible. What advice would you give them for them to start their journey towards visibility?
Well, I always say show up. So show up can mean you need to put yourself out there, whether it's on social media, whether you are now phoning around your friends and telling them, hey, I've just started this new thing. This is what it is. Patronize my business, or, like my page on so-and-so, whatever it is. But just show up. In order to make yourself visible, you have to be seen, and for me, visibility is key.
Yeah.
I always say they can't see what you're not showing them.
Absolutely.
Now, if I'm sitting down in my house and I'm saying, oh, I've made this really nice, sequin Montan bag, people are really going to
selling her bag. Yeah, once she's selling her bag, Montan bag. I like sequins, so I'm looking at
it. I'm looking at it and I'm saying, oh my God, people are going to love this. They're going to really love this bag, I can see it. I can see this set of people going for it and that kind of thing. That's where it stays, me looking at it and telling myself that. Now, if I don't make it visible, how are the people that are going to love it going to be able to see it in order to buy it?
Yes.
I now have to show up. So my showing up can be whether I show up on Facebook. I remember when I first launched it, I sent out a broadcast. I sent out a broadcast on WhatsApp. I put it on Facebook, and then I put it in a Black-owned business group on Facebook, and, just a few different places. And I was already getting messages. There were comments on the post in that Facebook group. I was already getting messages on the Instagram page, because I said, send a DM on the Instagram page. I was getting messages on the Instagram page of the ones that they liked, people wanting to buy this one. And the thing is, I wasn't ready at the time, but like I said, and like we say, it doesn't have to be perfect. And when I say I wasn't ready at the time, I hadn't set up, like how people were now going to pay or anything like that. So they were now messaging saying they like this one, they like that one. How did they pay? So the next day I was now rushing my husband and saying, love, you need to set up a Stripe link. You need to set me up a payment link. Someone wants to pay by PayPal. Somebody wants to pay. They want the payment link. And so we were busy creating all of that, because now the demand was coming. So all of that was now getting put in place, and that was how it was. And because I'd now spoken to family members and they knew what I was doing, I now had a family member message me, I had a family member tell a friend of hers, about Montan bags. So that friend now reached out to me on Instagram. She works for a big trading company in the city, so they trade for all the big banks and everything. And they said as part of Black History Month, they're doing their first ever, Black business, exhibition. And she'd really like me to come and exhibit Montan bags. And I said, oh, okay. And then she sent me a few things, asked a few things. I sent her the information, and it was on I think it was on a Wednesday evening, just 2 hours, 4:30 till 6:30 it was. And it was in the city. So yes, I went. I now had to be getting Montan bags ready, all the packaging and everything. And the good thing is I already had quite a few anyway. So I was just making the ones that I knew would probably go, because I do have best sellers when it comes to the Montan bags. And I showed up there, and it was phenomenal. The workplace, because it was for their whole office, there were only 4 exhibitors there.
Wow.
another lady that was just doing skincare products, me with the bags, and then 2 guys. One had he was a Christian, so he was doing hoodies and t-shirts, and then the other guy was a mobile tailor, so he came with samples of fabrics and things like that. But yeah, so all the people from the office, they would come at different times to just visit the exhibition areas. So they were buying, the men were buying, the women were buying, the young ladies were buying. The popular ones all went, and, and that kind of thing. So it was really good. But that came because I let family know what I was doing. So she remembered me when her friend was talking about they're having their first ever Black business exhibition and that kind of thing. So she put me forward, and that's how I got to do that. And then, so when people see, you know, like another friend saw and said, oh, she's having a pop-up, come and exhibit at the pop-up, because now they're seeing what I'm putting out there. So in order to be seen, you have to put yourself out there. Even if you don't have a product, if you yourself are a brand, put yourself out there as the brand that you are. If you're a speaker, put yourself out as a speaker. I expect to go to your page, your Instagram page, and see, you know, talk snippets of you talking, because you're a speaker and you're putting yourself out there. Likewise, if you're a makeup artist, I expect to see pictures of that kind of thing. You have to sell who you are or what you have, because that's how people are going to buy into it. When they see it, it looks attractive, or when they hear you, that kind of thing, because people do look. I mean, and a classic example is in our church, when it comes to Mother's Day, the men look at what gifts they're going to get for the women. So majority of the time they go to Instagram, they'll look for a company that's doing maybe a little package or a little hamper, and then they'll now get it from all the from that company. They'll order it for all the women in church from that company. And it's just a page that they found on Instagram. It's not that they know the person, but it's because it's the guys. They can't now ask us, because I mean, obviously if they ask us, I have friends that do hampers, I could have directed you to them and give them the money. But they can't ask us, because obviously they're surprising us. So they have to now go and look for themselves. But the reason why they'll now go with that page is because that page is visible. They can see what that page does. They'll have a conversation and say, okay, we'd like to order X amount for such and such a day. So you have to put yourself out there. You have to. And I always say, the way you put yourself out there matters. Branding is so important. Your page should reflect what you do. If you say you do makeup, let it be makeup on your page. If you say you do shoes, let it be shoes on your page. Don't mix it with shoes and then other stuff. You know, you can always have a personal stuff, a personal page for you, and put your personal stuff on. But if you're going to do a particular thing, stick with that particular thing on your page, so that when people go there, they're just scrolling through. If you go to Montan Bags, you're only going to see Montan Bags on that page. If you go to Women for Africa, you're only going to see Women for Africa stuff on that page. If you go to Solid Woman, that's what's on that page. If you go to my personal page now, you can see a variety of stuff, because that's just my page. But when it comes to branding, make sure that you brand yourself properly, so when they go to that page, that's what they'll see.
I love that. I hope guys, ladies, listeners, hope you're writing down notes. I've committed a lot to memory. Write down notes. It's about separating. So basically, when people come to you, whether you're on social media, whether they come to you personally and you're talking to them, let me give a good example. You might meet someone and you might say, oh, hello, how are you? What do you do? And they're like, oh, right, okay, so I teach, I do makeup, I do this. And many of us as women, we all do loads of things. I do loads of things. I wear many hats. I'm known as the reinvention queen. But for who you're speaking to, you need to figure out, what is it that they want? What do they need from you? Like Tola said, when she was going to that expo in the city, she immediately remembered the bags that were selling quickly, her best sellers. And she had to figure out, okay, I'm selling to the city. Some of the people there may not be people that look like us, but you want to ensure that your product or service is attractive, that they can see it as something functional. So it's the same thing when you're having conversations. Just talk about one thing. This is what I do. So when they're thinking about you, they remember that. Oh, I know someone. Oh, you're looking for someone that does this, that, and the other. Oh, I met so-and-so 2 years ago. She does that. And then contact you and like, oh, do I do that? Oh, yeah, it's true. You have to figure out which compartment you're in. And it isn't, as women, we all do lots of things. But it's about making sure that if you are on social media, I love that particular piece about it. If you are on social media, if you do 10 different things and you want to talk about those 10 different things, make sure that you have separate pages for them, and then your personal page can be everything. But and that's a really, really good advice. And even if you're not on social media now and you're thinking about it, this is something you've heard it from the best. She's a visibility coach, so she's not telling you what she doesn't do. She's telling you what she does and what works for her, what works for her clients, and what will work for us as well. So I hope that has been very, very helpful. Now I'm just looking quickly. Let your page reflect what you do. Thank you, Kumbi. Thank you. I'm just looking at comments. Right. You know, when we're having fun, time goes so quickly. I just feel like it's just like being in church and the pastor's speaking and you're looking at the time and you're thinking about your food. It's like time for lunch and all that. And he says, oh, this is just the introduction. So I feel like this is just the introduction and we can go on forever. But it's a Friday night here in the UK. And, you know, we've got to be mindful of our time and our rest periods and well-being and mental health and all the rest of it. So looking back, Tola, what one lesson would you say that you have learned that you wished you had known earlier at the start of your journey?
One lesson. I might need some help on that because I'm trying to think. One lesson.
If you've got two, you can share two.
I'm even trying to find one. I'm even trying to find one. To be honest, I kind of like see the positive in everything, no matter what it is. So I don't look at something and say to myself, oh, I wish I'd started doing this sooner. Because the time that I started doing it, I believe is the time that I've started doing it. And all the other time is helped to add to the experience that I would need to put into it for me doing it now, doing it when I'm doing it. And I'm one of those people that I always say to myself, never be afraid of change. So I wouldn't sit down and say, oh, I wasted so many years doing that thing. Because as I'm doing something, if I need to change it or the direction of it, I just change it and I change the direction of it there and then. You know, so I won't sit with something and say, oh, I spent 10 years doing that. And, you know, that's 10 years I wasted doing that. No, the moment I see that a direction needs to be changed, I would change that direction. So I always say, never be afraid to change what it is that you do. You know, it has to be what works for you. So I would just say that if there was one lesson, it wouldn't be a negative lesson. It would be a positive lesson. You know, like if I reflect back on something, and I would just say that, yes, don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to change you. Don't be afraid to change what you do. You know, you can change. You can actually change it. And I always, you know, I had somebody she was meant to do an event, and I think it got to the week of the event, and, you know, she was calling around to tell people that she had cancelled. You know, she had to cancel the event due to, you know, unforeseen circumstances and things like that. So she was, you know, and she said she was in two minds whether she was going to cancel because people had bought tickets, people were looking forward to it and that kind of thing. And I said to her, I said, never be afraid, even if it's on the last day, never be afraid to cancel because you know why you have to. That's the thing. It's better if you know that it's better for me to cancel this thing than to go ahead and do it. And then it's going to have all the problems and everything else and that kind of thing. Because sometimes people say, oh, well, they canceled maybe because they didn't sell enough tickets and things like that. But
so what?
If you have to cancel because you didn't sell enough tickets, that is not a bad thing. No, so I don't know why people look at it as a bad thing. We didn't sell enough tickets. So we're going to move the date so that we can probably accommodate and sell more tickets. And then we'll do it at a better date. There's nothing absolutely wrong with that. And that's what I tell people. That's why I say I don't tend to look at the negative in things. If they haven't sold enough tickets, you haven't sold enough tickets. Bearing in mind, there's so many events going on nowadays. How many are you going to buy tickets for unless you want to put yourself in debt? And that's a topic for another day.
It really is.
I say to people, if you budget well, you have 10 friends and you've already budgeted for the month. You've budgeted for the month that, right, I could spend £200 on events and attending events and that kind of thing. You've budgeted for the month, and that month you've got 5 friends that are having events that month. All 5 of them are close to you, and their tickets are £80. You cannot buy 5 tickets for £80 just to please 5 friends if you've budgeted £200 for the month. So you have to think of, am I going to attend 1? Am I going to attend 2? You know, so I have some money left over. Am I going to attend 1 and, you know, like use money for other things? But to attend 5 and go over your budget, you really do want to put yourself in debt? I don't think so. So you're going to have to look at the ones that you want to attend, and then maybe you'll attend the other friends' ones the following year. So I'll give these ones a miss the following year because I've attended them this year, and I'll attend my friends. But you can't attend all of them because it's not so much about let me please all 5 friends. It's really about I have a budget. So it's not about spending more than you have. You can't afford to do that. When they're free events, absolutely. But then when they're events that you have to pay, because you have to remember, you still have to pay to get to the event, whether you're taking the train, whether you're putting petrol in your car, you know, that kind of thing. So those are things that still have to be factored into your budget, you know. And so I always say to people that when you have to cancel things, you just have to, but never be afraid to change. And that's what I mean when I say don't be afraid to change things. Don't be afraid to do things differently.
I love that. I love that. And, you know, you've opened a can of worms. And if it wasn't for the fact that, you know, good things have to come to an end, but I need to bring you back. But talking about events, just quickly, what I do, and this might be helpful for anyone listening, is at the beginning of every year, I budget how much I'm going to spend on events. And I kind of figure out, I know the ones that I tend to go to every year. So I'll put those in, and then whatever's left, because it's really important. And apart from the money, you're a human being. You can't be everywhere. And I had to learn that myself. And like I said, I always like to talk about things that I do so that people can learn from it. And because, you know, I really detest platforms that make it look like, oh, look at us, we're so amazing. And we it's really important so that people can see themselves in you or part of your story. There was a time in my life where I would be at every single event, not every single event, but I would go to as many events as I felt were useful. And I had to ask myself a question, not just the money, but in terms of what it does to your body. If you go on an event because you want to please your friends, you want to support your friends, maybe some of them are because you want to support them, other ones is because it's something that you're going to get out of it, maybe educational, information, whatever it is, and you go to all these events. So you go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday, if you're someone that goes to church, you're not going to church on Sunday because you're tired. Monday, you're still tired. And as you get older, you know, Tuesday, you could still be tired. So you really need to pace yourself, not just in terms of the money, even if it's a free event, but also in terms of your personal health, your well-being, your emotional health. You know, we talk about mental health all the time. We talk about emotional health, but sometimes we need to also take responsibility. Are we having enough rest? Are we actually preferring ourselves more than people pleasing? And this is a different, you know, subject altogether, but I like that you actually touched on this. We can't be in 10 places at once. We're not omnipotent. We're not God that can be everywhere. And also it's about the value you place on yourself. Yeah. Because if you really value yourself, you know, you value yourself in terms of your health and everything else, you won't be everywhere, and you can't be everywhere. Even if you had the money to do that, you can't be everywhere. So it's you know, I'm glad you actually mentioned that. Anyway, we need to wrap up, and I don't want to wrap. Oh, someone's got to. What do they say? Let's see. I'm sure we've opened the can of worms here. Oh, so true, Zena. Right. Okay. So anyway, last but not least, you've told us about the lesson, and basically you see lessons as positive, and you really do. I know whenever something's negative, you always have a positive, and this is not me just saying this. She always has a positive spin on something. So you've told us about your hopes for the future for Women for Africa. We didn't really touch on Solid Woman. Can you give us some final reflections, a little bit about Solid Woman and some final reflections, and also in terms of the community, what role, I'm putting like two questions in one, what role do you feel that visibility has in terms of the community and personal empowerment?
So the first one was Solid Woman, right?
Yeah.
Solid Woman. Well, Solid Woman, I mean, we haven't done a Solid Woman event in a while, but they'll definitely be back in 2025. Solid Woman is, I believe every woman is a solid woman in her own right. And it's about an event where every woman at the event is a solid woman, no matter what it is that you do, you know, whether you do something grand, something big, something tiny, something small, you're still a solid woman because you have value. You have what you bring to the table. Absolutely. You know, whether it's your words of encouragement, whether you're an inspiration in what you do, you know, I believe every woman is a solid woman in her own right, and we have to own that. We
Yeah.
have to own that.
Yeah.
So we'll be bringing back the Solid Woman events back next month. The first one being in March,
Looking
for
forward to
International Women's Month, and we try and make it as interactive as possible. We make it active, we make it fun. We surprise people on the spot, and like that kind of thing. So yeah, that's what it's all about. And that in terms of visibility and the community, I believe that we can all show up for each other as well. I'm an advocate of showing up for each other. Just because you do what you do, it's no big deal to share what your friend does as well, or talk about what your friend does as well, or even post on your WhatsApp or your story what your friend does. It just takes a couple of seconds and somebody could see them. And even referring your friends, when you do something, or when people are looking for somebody that does something, look at your friends, look at your network, and and just recommend, because referrals now are the best way. People would rather go with a referral, because at least that person has tried them, that person knows them, so let me go with this person, rather than spending time to go and try and look for yourself. So I believe we can always help each other to show up, and that's how we work as a community, and that's how we can be a community.
I love referrals. I absolutely do. Lots, people always ask me, they ask me all this question, how have you, how come, how do you get your clients? And most of my clients over the years, I have to say, even with all the social media and stuff that I do, but the biggest success I've had is actually through referrals. Across almost every continent, through, and you're absolutely correct. People would like to know that you've worked with this person, or you've eaten their food, or they've baked cakes for you, or they've done your hair, or they've sorted out your travel, whatever it is, because that's like a safe pair of hands. It's a bit like a testimonial. Now, just to last but not least, because I want to really squeeze you out. I want to really, squeeze you out to dry. What last word of advice would you give to our listeners?
Well, I have a saying, and that saying is, if nobody gives you a platform, create one. And that's my word of advice. I always tell people, because like we can get stuck in this, I wish I could do that, or I wish I want to be. If nobody gives you a platform, create one.
Yes.
It's as simple as that.
Absolutely.
I say to people, you want to be on a magazine cover, create your own magazine and put yourself on the cover.
Absolutely.
Then you're on a magazine cover. That's
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. Love it. Thank you so much, Tola. I could speak to you forever. Your voice is so calming. You know this already. And I know that our listeners have really enjoyed today, and those that will listen to the replay, don't forget, share. This was episode 32, where we were talking about why it's important to have impact, show up, be visible, and really be unapologetic about it. Thank you so much, Tola. This has been so amazing.
Thank you for having me.
You really are the visible difference. You really are. You embody it, you show up, and you create impact everywhere that you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week for another episode of A Cup of Tea with me, my nice little cup, Dr. Zee. Thank you so much.